Oops. Hello, fellow preppers. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. It's Friday, December the 18th, the year's 2020. It's day 31 of the lockdown in Oregon under this coronavirus, COVID. Now, today, they've moved the county I live in, Coos County, to the extreme level. So that means all the restaurants, all the bars, the gyms, they're all shut down. Restaurants, carry out only. And I might have told you in the video I made last night that some of the townsfolk, they've had it up to here. You know, there's talk of, kind of saber-rattling talk. And I've heard this from other preppers all around the country. I just watched one guy, he's even talking about, preparing for nuclear war. I think that's kind of on the extreme, but the thing is, sometimes the extreme happens. So, just take everything, take it in, process it, and then, decide what you want to do. Another prepper, these are YouTube preppers, they've got their big prepper channels. He was talking about how, being prepared to take up arms, be part of the infantry. The one thing I have to agree with is you have to make sure your body's prepared. If you're not used to walking and carrying a pack, then you need to do that. And the level of seriousness that you take this is up to you. And then I just received this email hot off the press from the Oregon Health Authority. No, this is the Oregon Hunters Association, but they're both OHA. But it says, Oregon surpasses 100,000 COVID-19 infections, 1,390 new confirmed and presumptive COVID-19 cases, 21 new deaths reported. That's the headline. Now, I have a problem with this. And the reason I have a problem with this is when I went to college, I took a statistics course. And I actually aced the course. I had over 100% because there was like extra credit. I kind of like numbers. I'm not the best mathematician and all that. I'm not like a total geek out nerd numbers type of guy. But usually when I present cases, I use numbers, I use statistics to make my point. And the problem I have with this is the new confirmed and presumptive. How about you tell me how many confirmed cases there are and how many presumptive? Is there 1,389 presumptives and one confirmed? Because this is a problem. And every day we're getting blasted with these numbers in the local media, in the state media, in the national media. Out here where I live, I get one channel, CBS, and sometimes I watch the CBS Evening News at 5:30. And every day they're talking, just blasting you with this, not necessarily doom and gloom, but with all these negative numbers, so they think they can program the people into believing these things by saying it over and over, and then the government comes in with the solution, and like sheep will all get in line and follow the shepherd. Well, there's a few people out here who are more like wolves, and they're just kind of tired of what the shepherds are saying. They're about ready to start, eating some shepherds instead of sheep. So each person has to decide for themselves, what they're going to do and how they're going to live their life, what they're willing to tolerate, what rules they're willing to bend or break. Because, if a law is unconstitutional, if a order is unconstitutional, then you actually have a duty to ignore it. You have to stand up for your rights. That is why we have a Second Amendment. So that the citizenry can stand up against a tyrannical government. And right now, in many cases, or the case could be made that the government we have is filled with tyrants. They're making decisions that affect us personally. They're making rules for us that they break. They're affecting the small businesses, the mom and pop shops, whereas the big box stores are thriving. And they're wondering why. They're telling you when you can and can't congregate, how many people you have, whether or not you can go to your house of worship. I mean, they're just taking that U.S. Constitution and using it like toilet paper. You know, once again, I don't buy into any of it because, you know, I unplugged from the Matrix a long time ago. And if I'm foolish enough, you know, I used to be foolish enough to believe that my rights were a bunch of guys sat around a table, they wrote up some paper, and this paper tells me my rights, you know, and supposedly this paper restricts what the government can do, it enumerates their powers. Well, you know, that's just a piece of paper. You want to see what your real rights are, go out in the middle of the ocean or go out in the woods. You know, you might run across a two-legged creature or a four-legged creature that might not be able to read, let alone believe and subscribe to and adhere to that piece of paper. So it's all a game. It's just all foolishness. And but we all believe in it. We were you know, brought up to believe in these things, and a lot of these things we find out are just bogus, totally bogus. But you know, we have this thing called society here, and we pay our taxes, and we follow the laws, and then we get what we got right now. Somehow we've elected a bunch of idiots in the office, and they've turned this country into idiocracy. I talk about that movie so many times. But, you know, I also told you about that movie Ghetto Physics that talks about, you know, pimps and hoes, because there are people out there who are pimping us. Because if they're making money off of you, then you're their hoe. It's just that simple. You know, we're not talking about streetwalkers and things like that, but we're talking about the dynamic. If somebody's making money off of you, then you're their hoe. And the other thing is, if you don't get to keep all the money that you earn, then you're their slave. Or once again, you're their hoe. It doesn't matter what you call it. The bottom line is, somebody's feeding off of you. Somebody is enriching themselves off of you. Somebody is benefiting from your labor, as opposed to you benefiting totally from your labor. You know, if you make $1, but you got to pay half of it in taxes, who are you? And then, once again, I don't know how it happened, but, you know, you ask most of the people out there, and they think things like, well, the corporations aren't paying their fair share. Or, you know, these rich guys like Gates and Bezos and Elon Musk, you know, they need to pay more in taxes. Well, the bottom line is these guys probably pay more in taxes in a year than you're going to make in a lifetime. I mean, that's just, so how much more should that one person pay? I mean, they've got our minds so twisted, so convoluted, that, you know, they say these things and then people stand up and cheer and go, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, no. And I only laugh because, like I said, I've unplugged from that Matrix, you know, so long ago. This stuff is just so crystal clear. In fact, I was chatting with an old schoolmate I ran across from Facebook. I known him back in junior high school, so shout out to my friend Rich. And it's just funny because, you know, we knew each other back then, and, you know, we each led our lives, and I was just telling him, I said, man, everything they taught us basically was a lie. You know, they put game on us, you know. It's like the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus, and, you know, the fact that we live in a free country, those are all myths. Those are all lies. I mean, think about it. You can't, you don't live in a, see all this? If I want to do something here, I got to get a permit. Whether it's logging, building, you know, running electric lines or water lines, digging. I mean, you tell me I'm living in the land of the free? You've got to be kidding me. But, you still, you know, people are getting together, small groups, and they're just getting ready to, you know, start talking to their local officials and saying, you know what, tell our governor, Governor Kate Brown, to shove it. Because, you know, people here, they want to make money. They want to live their lives, and they don't want government bothering them. But part of the problem is you know, like I said, we get these scare numbers from the Oregon Health Authority, and some people buy into them, and people say, well, you know, if you go out and you don't wear a mask, you're putting other people at risk. So we've got this great divide. Who knows? Maybe instead of blue and gray, we're going to see the people with masks and people without masks, and they're going to be shooting at each other. I don't know. But we've got this divide. Oh, well, science says. Well, science says a lot. You know, just go back a few centuries and look at what science said. We found out science was wrong. So, you know, of course, I don't want the disease to spread. I want it to be eradicated. I don't want to get it. So I'm going to do what I have to do to minimize my exposure. But I don't want to impose my will upon other people either, telling them how they should live their lives. I say, here's how I live mine. Here's what I do. If you want to do like me, go ahead. If you don't, that's fine too. I think it should be up to the individual. You know, if I saw bodies laying in the street when I drive into town, you know, people dropping over from COVID, then I think we really have a problem. But I don't really see that. In fact, you know, they've made Cook County high risk here, when I think we've only had 3 COVID deaths in the county. And who knows if those deaths had underlying conditions. So, right now, here in Oregon, on the southwestern Oregon coast here, we just basically want to live our lives. At least I speak for myself. I just want to live my life. You know, I don't want the disease. I'm going to try and minimize contact, minimize exposure. But I don't want to see my fellow neighbors and citizens impacted unnecessarily and to their detriment, because I think right now we've got more people who have whose lives have been ruined not by COVID but by the response to COVID. And so that's why I say, you know, when you prepare, you're not preparing for an event like a hurricane, flood, fire, pandemic. You're preparing for your response to that event. And that's what you need to do, because if you fail to prepare, then you're preparing to fail.